What's the word, birds? So, today we have a slightly different structure, somewhat, than you might be used to. But if you're new here, I just want to take a moment and introduce myself. My name is Shelby, and I'm an alienated mom. And I'm a coach as well for other alienated and estranged parents who want to build a life that actually feels like it's worth living, right? Even in the middle of this grief, in the middle of the mess of living apart from your children. Today, we're going to be helping you to find the answer to a question that I hear so often. And in fact, it was a big thing for me too for a long time, really for my whole life, but I didn't know it was a thing until I knew it was a thing, and that was after Alienation. So, if you haven't already read the title, it's if I'm not actively parenting, then who am I? What is my purpose? What do I want? What are my likes, my dislikes, all the things, you know? So that's what we're going to talk about. I hear this so often. In fact, there are three of my current clients working through this very thing right now. And that's what actually had me decide to do this episode, is because today I'm going to walk you through one of probably it's one part, I should say, of a multi-tiered or faceted approach, basically, to your identity. Okay. In my programs, like in my one-on-one client programs, we visit this in full by going back to your beliefs about who you are, what you think you're able to accomplish, how the world behaves for you, how you behave in the world, all that sort of stuff. But for right now, and I have many episodes that actually address what I just described there, and I've done many identity episodes, which I will link below. But today, what I really, really want to flesh out with you is determining what that is. Not just dealing with the loss part of it, which we've addressed before many times, but let's get down very specific about finding out who you want to be moving forward, if you don't already know. But if you already know, then chances are you wouldn't have already clicked on this episode. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and read my little spiel here, and then we'll keep going, okay? So for so many of us, alienation didn't just take away time with our kids. It ripped away our routines, or so it felt like, our roles, our sense of usefulness. Overnight, the thing that we organized our entire life around, poof, is gone. And we're left with this echoing emptiness where our identity used to be. So, if that's where you're living right now, I want you to know first that you are not crazy for feeling like you don't know who you are anymore. It's a completely sane response to a massive living loss, current loss anyway. I never want to say that it's a forever loss, right? It's a living loss, it's current, it is acute, likely for a lot of you, meaning it's in the first year, just as intense. And when we're going through an ambiguous loss like this, it can complicate things. Like literally, it's considered complicated grief, right? Or prolonged grief disorder. Today, I don't want for us to just stick in the pain. I want to walk us through the second part of that question, right? So if I'm not fulfilling the traditional role of parent right now, who else might I get to be? That's the part I want to focus on. So we're going to spend just a couple of minutes naming a loss right now so that you, if you're a brand new listener, you could feel seen, heard, understood. And then we're going to get down to business. I'm going to walk you through a pathway for rebuilding your sense of self. And I've created a worksheet. So let me just tell you right now, if you want to download the worksheet that pairs with this episode, you want to go to beyondthehighroad.com/uncovering identity after alienation. The spaces have underscores. And then there'll be a link below. You can either print it out, okay, and fill it in, or you can use your device to just log it or get a notebook. Or if you don't want to get the worksheet and it's just too much, you're busy right now, if you want to get the most out of this episode, you can come back and, re-listen to it and have either a notebook or a device with a notes app available for you to log your answers. Because I tell you, the difference in results and clarity, mental clarity that you will get, especially when it comes to this episode, you guys, because this episode is like a mini course. Okay. It's going to give you all the direction you need to get started. Trying to log that all up in your head, it sounds like a novel idea. And listen, I was in the service industry for a long time, hospitality service. I was a bartender and a server, and I would take people's orders. I mean, a 12 top, a 20 top didn't matter. And I would just remember everybody's orders. I'm the type that'd be like, I don't need a notebook. I'm fine. I can just figure it all out in my head. I'm telling you, the difference is night and day, especially when it comes to your own healing. Because when I started doing that and actually writing it down, as opposed to saying I was writing it down, when it came to like me working with my coach, the results were not even comparable. Okay, that's my little sell to you, that the worksheets are writing it down somewhere is going to help you more than just logging it in your brain. Okay, but anyway, no matter what you do, anything's better than not. But this is a chance for you guys to start doing action as opposed to just listening to. All right. So like I said, and the link is in the show notes. And let's do this. So before all of this, before the court orders, before the blocked phone, maybe before the silence, being a parent showed up in your life, probably, I'm assuming, in really concrete ways, for the most of you anyway. There are some special considerations or whatever, but let's just leave it at that for right now. Maybe your mornings were filled with packing lunches, signing permission slips, coordinating rides to and from school, even handoffs if that's what was going on. Maybe your afternoons were homework battles, grocery runs, practices, rehearsals, what have you. Maybe your nights were late night talks, checking grades. For me, it was drawing on my daughter's sandwich bags or drawing on her like monthly homework sheets. You had a role, you had a rhythm, you knew where you fit. And then that role got ripped away. You didn't just lose tasks, you lost a part of yourself. It's completely understandable if it feels like you lost the version of you who had purpose, the version of you who was needed, the version of you who knew what the next right thing to do was each and every day, each and every step. You knew what was coming next. You knew what you were going to do next. I mean, life always brings surprises, but with our kids around playing a traditional role as parent, there was a schedule to keep. Your mind was occupied. Your days were full, maybe sometimes even too full. But the chaos of that felt good, felt normal. So if your brain says to you, if I'm not packing lunches and doing drop-offs, tucking anyone in, who even am I? That's not weakness. That's grief and that's shock. That is your history showing up in your brain's expectations that have been encoded over years' time. Now, though, this is the pivot, is the same question that this whole episode is posing can actually become your invitation. If I'm not fulfilling the traditional role of a parent right now, this is the part I want to focus on. Who else might I get to be? So we're at segment 2 right now, and segment 2 is actually step 1 for you. Most of us were never taught that our roles and our essence, our spirit, are different things entirely. We learn to answer who are you with I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, I'm a librarian, what have you. So when the role gets ripped away, it feels like we got taken away with it, right? Like our whole soul, spirit, everything was taken away with it. I mean, I know if I'm being completely honest with myself, which I always try to be, but it took a long time for me to admit that being a mom gave me something to live for, right? My daughter became my purpose, which I think is both beautiful and also slightly dysfunctional, because then I looked to her to determine where I went, what I was worth, if I was worth, what I did, how I felt. It all was sort of wrapped up in my daughter. And that is fine and great. And many moms and dads feel like that aren't going through alienation and are, many people sort of look to their kids. Kids change their lives, you know? Not like, again, I think that's a beautiful thing. But I didn't know who I was before that. So she was really what changed everything and gave me something to look forward to, something to wake up for in the morning, something to go to sleep on time at night for, all the things, right? Without her, there was no structure for me. And I know a lot of parents out there that are listening to this also feel the same or experience the same, right? But it doesn't have to be. You could have been very focused and motivated in other areas of your life, and still have this question. So I just wanted to share a little bit of like, I just knocked my water over. Of course I did. Right now. Oh shit. So you don't have to share my experience, but I know a lot of you guys also feel the same. I mean, our kids gave us purpose. And I think most parents on the face of this earth feel the same. Having kids just changes your life in all the areas, right? Your priorities shift. But also, I think it particularly hits us as alienated parents when it's stripped away from us involuntarily. So there's that. If you're feeling particularly lost right now, my bet is that you have not explored who you are outside of being a parent. Probably for a couple of reasons. And one of those, I will tell you for me, one of those is because I was resisting the idea of not playing the traditional role as parent. I was resisting and fighting and not wanting to succumb to this, I hate this term, but new normal or this new reality. Because if I explored other areas of my life, then that meant that I was closing the book or accepting the current circumstances with my daughter. And I didn't want to do that. That made me fucking flat out pissed off, you know? But I also know it made me suffer for an unnecessarily long period of time until I finally did stop the resistance and chose me while I was fighting for my child, you know, which I still will always do, no matter how old she is. Right now, I want to sort of untangle the you as a parent, you as a teacher, you as whatever role you say that you are. Like if somebody asks you who you are and you go into, I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm a banker, that's how you describe yourself. I want to untangle that for us today. Okay. For you. So if you have the worksheet in front of you, if you've downloaded it, this is part 1 and part 2 of the worksheet. If you don't, you can just grab a notebook or use your notes app, whatever. I want you to take a second and think about what being a parent used to look like for you. Say to yourself, or better, write down, I used to, and I'm going to give you some examples. I used to make breakfast. I used to drive to practice, supervise homework, right? I used to keep the family calendar. I used to plan every holiday. I used to go to every game and every performance. Like whatever comes to your mind, like the things that you're missing, I used to, and now I don't. Give me the I used to, the things that you really wish were still happening in your life as it relates to being a parent. And some more examples are, I used to enforce bedtimes and screen limits. I used to kiss my kids on their forehead every single night, no matter how old they were. You used to, maybe being married, you used to manage the bills in order to keep the lights on. You used to advocate with teachers, with therapists, with doctors, what have you, right? So those are just some examples. What is it that you used to do? Fill the rest of that sentence out. We want to get a few of those in front of you. We're going to ask a different question to pair with that. And so the next part of that question is, what does the I used to, your statement, say about the kind of person that you are? For example, if your role was, I made breakfast, drove to practice, supervised homework, what this says about you and your essence, your spirit, your values, is that I am nurturing, I am persistent, I am deeply loyal, and I'm a fierce advocate. Okay? That's one example. The next example I have is, I used to keep the family calendar and planned every holiday. In essence, what you're saying about you is, I'm a visionary, I'm an organizer, I'm a meaning maker, a tradition builder. This could be it. You could think of a lot of things that go into there. Organizer is a big one. there though. Okay. Another example is I used to enforce bedtimes and limits on screens, right? Not everybody's going to choose this if you're romanticizing, but get down to the nitty gritty of what it is that you used to do, what your role was on a daily basis, what provided structure for you as a mom or dad. Okay. So I enforce bedtimes and screen limits. In essence, what I think that shows is that you're a protector, a boundary setter, someone who cares enough to say no when it matters. Okay. I want you guys, it's really important to look at this because in your role, the things that you chose to do when you were actively co-parenting with your ex, and at that time wasn't your ex, you all chose tasks, things to do that really fit who you are. But we never really think about it like that. What were the things that were really important to you? I have a funny picture in my mind right now, and one of the things that I really cared about was bedtime because it was bedtime and also her pooping schedule. Both of those things were extremely important to me. But I know that both of those things, I really cared. The reason I wanted her to go to bed on time and also take naps for as long as she could until she was like 7, really, I would make her take a nap if she really needed to, is because, well, one, I really cared about her mental health and also her physical health. And I really hated to see her suffer by being tired, also because the switching over back and forth to houses, I know it took a toll on her. I really cared about her experience, always did. And then with the poop schedule, I just always wanted her to not be uncomfortable and stopped up, you know? But I was a fierce, like, lover, caretaker. And I wanted the best for her, you know? And it came out in her schedule. I didn't care so much about my schedule, whatever, all the things. But I really, really wanted to show her good habits and all the things. Okay. So that's another example. I didn't write it down. Another example is I went to every game, performance, and appointment, what have you. What that can show for you in your essence is that you are reliable, present, attentive. You honor the people that you love with your time. I could think of a bunch of different meanings there, but this is just what I came up with. Another example here is maybe you research schools, supports, specialists, whatever it is. Maybe your child went through a period of time where there was some health concerns, right? And so maybe your side job, you purposed yourself to making sure he or she had the best care, right? The best doctors, the best protocol plan, you know, all that homeopaths, whatever it was. So in essence, what that can mean about you, what I think that could say about you is that you're resourceful, you're proactive and committed to growth and justice. Last example I have here is that, like, let's say that you advocated in court, you wrote declarations, refused to disappear, what have you. It shows that you are resilient, that you are courageous, that you are persistent, unwilling to abandon the people that you love. So those qualities don't vanish with the court order or with whatever happened with the alienating parent. They didn't evaporate when your kids stopped picking up the phone either. They are still you. Those qualities are still there if you want them to be. And you can also pick new ones that you want to lean into. You know, what your history doesn't need to, you've heard me say this a million times, whatever's happening in your past doesn't need to determine your today and your future, right? But this is a great start for determining where your values sit, you know, what's already inside of you and where you want to head with that. Okay. So if you're using the worksheet, this is where you want to fill out a few pairs, right? So this is where I used to, and then you want to fill in the essence part. This means I am someone who, and look and see what you value within the role that you used to play, the tasks that you used to perform on a daily basis. Okay. So what I want to encourage you guys to do right now is to hit pause. If you are doing the worksheet, take some time to fill this out. Okay. 5 minutes, whatever it is. Do at least 3 of those, right? I used to, and in essence, this means I am, or I value, however you want to say that, and fill that out. Do not skip this step is what I'm trying to say here. This is the foundation for everything else that I'm going to talk with you guys about. All right, so now we're at segment 3, and I've titled it, Why You Draw a Blank and Why That Makes Sense. For a lot of you, this is where your mind is going to go totally blank. If I say, outside of parenting, who are you? What do you want? What do you like? What are you good at? You might feel nothing but panic and or confusion. And it makes so much sense. Maybe you grew up in chaos or dysfunction where your job was to survive. Maybe it wasn't thought of like that, but your job was to survive, to keep the peace, to be the good kid, to make yourself small, or to parent your own parents, parent your other siblings. Maybe you just kept doing the next right thing. You did well in school. Maybe you picked a major, got accepted into a program, right, in college or after college. You get the job, you got married, you had kids. No one stopped and said to you, hey, what do you actually want? Who are you when you're not performing your caretaking? So it makes sense. In fact, one of the moms, I told you I have 3 clients currently that is going through this and it's just like, I don't know what I want. I have no clue. And it's to the point where for her, it feels exhausting to think about it. Well, it did until we had started exploring this. It felt exhausting for her. Like, I really, truly, I have no clue. She just drew a blank. It was just all gray. And I 100% get her. For me, and if you've been listening for a long time, you've heard me talk about that. I never dreamed as a kid. I didn't even know that was, whenever the people would talk about dreams or goals, big goals for how they're going to live their life, I thought, that's just crazy. That's a waste of time. Like, it didn't make sense to me because I was not taught that growing up, you know? And so it could be that the same thing is going on for you. The chances are the same thing is going on for you. So, of course, when your parenting role gets ripped away, you draw a blank. That makes sense. And that blank doesn't mean that there's nothing there. That blank likely means that nobody ever gave you the space or provided the safety for you to explore it. So if you're following along in the worksheet, this is part 3, and you'll see sentence starters like, growing up, I learned that my job was to blank. Another part of it says, nobody ever asked me blank, right? When I tried to want for something for myself, the message I got was blank. And that's where you fill it in, right? And the last one is, today, when I ask myself, what do I want? My mind says, what? Fill in the rest. If you need to, if you're not using the worksheet, you can pause or go back a little bit and write those questions down and fill out the rest of them. So I'm going to go through it again. It's growing up, I learned that my job was to what? Blank. Fill that in. Second question is, nobody ever asked me blank. Fill the rest of it in. When I tried to want something for myself, the message I got was what? Okay. And the last question there is, today, when I ask myself, what do I want? My mind says what? Blank there. Okay. I want you to know that you do not have to have profound answers here. You can literally write, I don't know, or nothing, or it feels stupid to even ask. It's too late in the game. Whatever you write, that's data, and we can use that data. Okay? So I want to point something out here that I think is really important, though it may sound a little harsh. But I promise that if you accept this, what I'm getting ready to tell you, it will set you free, ultimately empowering you and your future. Your alienation, your situation of alienation, did not create that blank. It did not create this emptiness of, I don't know who I am anymore. Okay? It just exposed it. For me, like I was kind of mentioning a little while ago, that like, after Alien, I've mentioned it many times throughout these episodes, after alienation happened, I was like, who am I? Because all I know myself to be is a mom. I'm a mom. Everything is for my daughter. Everything I do, I live and breathe and eat and sleep and everything, mothering my daughter. She was my everything, And so, like I also mentioned early in the beginning, although a very beautiful cause, it was also dysfunctional because then so much pressure on my daughter, even if it was only inside of me, putting everything on her for her to determine who I am and how well I'm doing, how I'm feeling in all the things. So when alienation happened and my daughter went away, the blank that was there from before just re-exposed itself, resurfaced. Yeah? So it could be the same thing with you. Like if you did not ever explore this for yourself, and once your kids came, that was like, oh, goody, I feel purpose, I feel alive, I feel useful, needed, necessary, then it will be really, really helpful for you to, number one, acknowledge it. And it's okay no matter how old you are. Look, I'm almost 51 years old. And it took me up until 45, 46 to even come close to accepting this for myself. And it still took some time after that for me to finally get there. No matter how, I don't care if you're 60, if you're 70, it's never too late. In fact, whenever is better than not at all. So alienation, this whole thing just exposed the emptiness that you might feel right now. So that means, you guys, that as brutal as this season is, it's also your first real invitation to get curious about you. Okay? This is your time. Just got the flashback of Goonies right now. It's our time. Down here is our time. Okay, anyway. All right. So now we're at section 4. What I've titled this as is choosing your identity pillars instead of finding your one big purpose. Okay. Finding your one big purpose is, first off, if you've listened before, you know that I'm not big on that because I don't believe that we all just have one purpose. I feel like that would be unfulfilling and weird and also pressury, and it's not realistic. I feel like we have many, 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 many purposes, and it just depends on it's not like finding the gift, your secret gift. Like you have to find a key to unlock to know what your special gift is. You have lots of them, and you get to decide what you want to lean into. Okay. So a lot of people get stuck here because they think that they have to magically discover, just what I said, one giant capital P for purpose before you're allowed to move. Instead, I want you to choose a few identity pillars, just to start with for today. Areas of your life that could hold parts of who you are becoming or who you already are that you want to further develop. So examples of this, just a few examples, is creator. We're all creators. In fact, I believe that every example that I put here, we all have some part, whether you develop it further or not, it's whatever, but we all have each part of this in us. So creator is one of them. Healer or helper, you could call it. Leader is another one. Student or learner. There's a caveat to that one, but we all have it in us. Advocate, artist or maker of some sort. Entrepreneur. Athlete or mover. What I mean by mover is just moving your body. You're moving in one way or another. Some people don't want to categorize themselves as athletes, right? I am not necessarily a competing athlete, but I am definitely a mover. That is part of who I am. I enjoy it. I love it. I like to go running at the hottest time of the day. It's just, I love it. I get energy from that. Maybe you don't do that, but you know what I'm saying. Friend. Connector is another one, right? That you like to make the connections, connect other people, or you just really love being a great friend and supporter. A spiritual seeker, guru, even if you want to name yourself that, it's fine. You are what you say you are. Organizer or planner. And then I have teacher or guide. I'm sure that there are other pillars, whatever comes for you that feels right for you, write it down. Notice though, in all the examples that I've given here, none of these depend on you currently having contact with your child, being in contact with your child. Not one of them. So if you're using your worksheet, this is part 4. I want you to go through, if you've got the worksheet in front of you, and circle anything that feels even slightly true or intriguing on the examples that I gave you. Or if you're listening, then just write down three of them. I want to stress that you're not promising or devoting yourself to one specific thing or anything at all, really, even. You're just noticing where your energy sort of spikes, even a tiny bit, when you say those words out loud to yourself, right? Then, like I said, circle or pick 3 and write them down. So pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3. You could choose many more, but for right now, I want you to stay focused, constrained. Okay? Under each pillar, you want to give yourself 1 or 2 pieces of evidence. And what I mean by evidence, and I explain this in the worksheet, but you want to, well, I'm going to give you some examples here. So and I'll explain what I mean by evidence. Evidence doesn't need to mean that like you've done it in the past so you could do it today. You know that that's one of the staples of what I talk about when I already mentioned it. You don't have to have evidence in your past that you're good at something. You could just be interested, intrigued by it, and then go explore it. And that's actually what I really encourage you to do. Don't base it on what you've already done always. You know, pick 1 or 2 of those pillars, make it be something maybe a little bit more unfamiliar. But anyway, so you give yourself 1 or 2 pieces of evidence, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if you chose advocate, you write, maybe it's something like, I can't shut up about injustice. I can't stop talking about it, right? Or I always end up being the one who researches and explains things to people. Like you like to help people. Hello, that's me for sure. By doing all the work and then presenting it, right? Maybe that's you. So that could fit into a lot of different categories, but one of those is advocate. It could also be a leader, creator, teacher, what have you, you know, but maybe you chose creator. And so for that, the example I have here is I'm always making playlists, decorating and tweaking things to make them beautiful. So that's why creator artist could be that for you. That's what that translates over to. Maybe you chose student. For that one, you might write, I'm constantly watching trainings, reading and learning about trauma, law, psychology, whatever it is for you. I will say that with student, I would just encourage you to also lean in. Don't just choose students. Like I said, I want you to do 3 pillars, but really, if you have been in a state of passive action or inaction, freeze, if you will, over an extended period of time, I think choosing students or learner is a really overly safe choice option, because it's a lot of passive action. Listening to the podcast, even reading, watching videos, whatever it is, it's all of that is consuming, which is really passive. You're learning, which is, we all need that, right? I love doing that, and I do that all day long, all the time, you know, when I'm not with my clients. But it can't be the only thing that you're doing. You need to be taking massive action, especially coming from what we have, because the likelihood, I don't know, I mean, fill it in for you, but like the likelihood is that you haven't been taking enough action. And that's why we're in the spot, or you're in the spot now where you don't know who you are anymore or what makes you happy. Okay. So yeah, that. So student, just to make sure that you're also leaning into some other things. Okay. What I want you, and I kind of said this a minute ago, to remember is that you're not making a forever decision here and locking in your future in some way. You're circling places and you're identifying places where your spirit has already been peeking through or wants to peek through. Another example, sorry, I didn't say, is that if you turn everything into a ritual or a joke, creator or artist or connector might be in there too. You know, if you always research school support specialists, advocate or healer might be in there for you. So now we're at section 5. You want to commit to one meaningful, uncomfortable project. This is where we get into your massive action, into the doing part. Now we get into the part that you might not have experienced in a really long time. This is real action. After months or years, I forgot that I wrote this and I just kind of explained it a second ago. After months or years of shutdown and paralysis, you do not need, likely anyway, another year of microscopic, invisible steps. Yes, we respect you, me and you, are respecting your nervous system. No, we are not going to baby you forever. Growth is supposed to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel discomfort with this. This is not a sign that you're doing it wrong. Okay? This is proof that you're stepping out of the coffin that alienation tried to put you in. You're stepping out of the gray doldrum of inaction that you likely fell into after alienation. So here's what you're going to do. From your 3 identity pillars, you want to choose one to experiment with for the next 60 to 90 days. Okay, just one. And yes, 60 to 90 days. I don't care what happens in the middle. You want to commit to that time frame. You want it to be a season so that you give it a fair chance and you're able to explore you and how you fit into that world, that pillar. Okay. So if you're on the worksheet, this is part 5. You'll see the pillar I'm choosing for the next 60 to 90 days is blank. That's where you're at on the worksheet. Then you're going to design a real world project within that pillar. I don't want you to come up with some vague idea, right? Not I'll try to be more creative. It's a real project. It's something that will actually, when you're done, exist out there in reality. So let me give you some examples. If you choose creator, let's say, you could start a simple blog or a Substack and commit to 10 posts. These are just examples. You make them your own. Or you could record a 6-episode mini podcast on anything that you care about, anything at all. Make a small art series, 10 drawings, 10 photos, 10 songs, whatever it is. Do a series of something. I like series because then it gives you the opportunity to just sort of explore all the areas in it. Anyway, if you choose student, enroll in a class, online or in person, with a clear start and end date and complete it. Work toward a certification you've secretly wanted forever, or you've thought that it was so cool that somebody else had. You know, many of us didn't allow ourselves to want things because of whatever dysfunctional relationship we were in or from childhood. We just learned to stay realistic and not want for things that seemed out of doability, right? Out of your zone. But really right now, if you need to and you can't come up with anything, look at maybe something that you've admired in somebody else. You could do that. That's what I've used that for myself at times. Like, who do I admire and what is it about them that I admire? What do I really love and wish that I could do for myself, but I don't really let myself go there? What is that? You know? So work toward a certification you've secretly wanted, or join a book club and commit to showing up and sharing, reading and showing up and sharing. If you choose advocate, volunteer for a set number of hours with a cause or for a cause that matters to you. Start or co-facilitate a support group. Another example is write and submit 3 op-eds or blog posts on an issue you care about. If you chose healer, helper, begin training in a modality that helped you, coaching program, peer support, whatever it is. If you've found something that really worked for you, then see how maybe that you could go get certified for that or educated in it so that you can also help people to do the same. If something that you're passionate about, this is always, of course, the way to go. Offer to run one workshop, just one, or do a talk in a community that you're a part of. Start a weekly check-in circle with other alienated parents. If you chose spiritual seeker, commit to attending a specific group or practice for a set number of weeks. Start a daily or weekly practice, like spiritual practice, that you track and then you reflect on. There are apps to do this too. But really become committed to whatever that is for you. Whatever interests you, figure out a way to employ yourself in that pillar, if that makes sense. Join a retreat or a group study that you've been avoiding, maybe out of fear of fitting in or them asking you questions that seem too personal right now about your kids or whatever. Do it anyway. And if you're really feeling nervous about it, I have an episode for you about what to say when they ask about your kids. I can link that in the show notes too. The rule is the project must feel a little too big at least, if not like extra big. I want it to feel big for the version of you who's been frozen on the couch, okay? And exactly right, on point for the version of you that's trying to be born or reborn or however be developed, okay? So a little big or a lot big for the frozen version of you, and exactly right or even a little bit scary for the version of you that's trying to be born or reborn, okay? Part 6, expect the freakouts and then keep moving. Now, The moment that you commit, you guys, you just bank on it, that your brain is going to throw a fucking tantrum. It's going to go apeshit on you. You're going to hear things like, who do you think you are? You're too broken to start anything. You don't know what you're talking about. You're abandoning your child. If you focus on this, you'll never finish. Why bother? I can remember I said this exact thing when I was a figure competitor, bodybuilding a while back. And I remember always wanting to do it my whole life. Not my whole life, but my entire adult life. And after I had my daughter, I was still with my daughter's father. I was like, I want to be a figure competitor. And he told me, my daughter's father, no shade, but this is what he said. I can remember exactly where we were. He was like, psh, you'll never do that. You never finish anything. And at the time I was like, ew. And then I was like, oh, he's right. And so when we split up, that was one of the first things that I tasked myself to do. My daughter was really young. She was still a toddler. She was 2. And I trained and did it. And it was so great to prove myself wrong. I didn't care about him at that time. Truly did not even. I'm like, whatever. But I needed to prove to myself that I could do it because I really believed him. That's what probably was my theme my whole life. You never finish anything. Why even bother? Don't listen to that voice. Okay. Or you can listen to it because I think it's fine. It's like, acknowledge it, but then keep going. It's not fact. Okay. Don't believe the things that your brain offers to you always. Okay. Another thing that your brain might say is people will laugh at you. People will judge you. What will they say is another way that comes up, right? Or this is pointless if your kid isn't here to see it, or if so-and-so isn't here to see it, whatever it is. I want you to assume that mental freak out is coming. It's a coming, you guys. It will come. All the objections will come out to play. It's not a sign that you should stop, though. It's a sign that you finally stepped beyond, or you're stepping beyond your old identity. That's what I want you to keep reminding yourself. Oh, this fear is just a sign this is uncharted territory. And this means always uncharted territory, and uneasiness means that you're growing. You're at the threshold of something new, which is amazing. And that's exactly what we need. You're now going to learn something new about yourself. Whatever you do with it afterwards, fine. But you will know by the end of this, you follow this for 60, 90 days. And I know it's a period, but I want you guys to give yourselves a chance. But you follow this and you will have learned many, not just one new thing about you, whether you like or dislike whatever the pillar is, like what you purpose yourself to do for this time. You will have found out so much more about yourself. Well, I'm going to talk about this in a minute. On the worksheet in part 6, there's a space to write down the thoughts that you expect to hear, your objections, right? And then one sentence that you'll use to answer them. So it might sound like, I already gave you the examples of the objections that'll come up for you. Like, who do you think you are? Your response here could look something like, this is my old survival self that's trying to keep me small and safe. Okay. I am telling myself, I'm giving myself permission to build a life and still love and fight for my child. All of that can coexist. Okay. Or it could be, I can be 95% terrified, mostly terrified, right? And 5% willing, only 5% willing, and still take action. Even if I'm chock full of terror, panic, freaking out, uncertainty. But if I have that 5% willing, then that means I can move. So when those thoughts show up for you, you want to name it. So this is my survival self, my old survival self, telling me that trying to keep me small and safe, right? And then you want to anchor back to your essence, whatever it is that you wrote from above in step 1, step 2, actually, pick from those. I'm resilient, I'm creative, I'm devoted is what I've got here. Then you take the next visible step anyway. Fear, no fear, I don't care what's going on for you. Keep taking steps. It's almost like the screaming toddler in a room. You want to love on them, acknowledge them, and then keep moving. So send the email, click and roll, show up to week 1, publish the first thing, whatever it is, do it. Now we're at part 7. Let the new data reshape your self-concept. I'm going to state the obvious here. Identity doesn't shift because you thought a new thought once. Identity shifts because you live differently over and over, and your brain will have no choice but to update the story to match whatever it is that you keep doing. That's just the way that our human brain works. So your identity will shift so long as you change your actions and you do those on a repeated basis, like sticking with the new actions, right? When you show up week 4 to the class, when you hit publish on episode 6, when you sit in the circle that you created and realize people are looking to you now. If you're using the worksheet, part 7 asks you right now to time travel 90 days into the future and pre-write that story. Do not skip this step, you guys. And so the prompt is, in the last 3 months, I proved that I am someone who, and you fill in the rest, right? I surprised myself when and then you fill in the rest. Even in this season of alienation, estrangement, whatever's going on for you, I am now a person who blank, right? And then my favorite part, you give this version of you a nickname. This is, you do with it as you will. And my examples here are the fierce advocate is one of them. The rising artist is another one. The unstoppable student. Like I said, though, don't only be the student. The bold builder is one that just came to my mind right now. Just depends on what you want to do. Okay. Whatever makes you smile or causes you to feel a little spark in your chest and in your belly, that. Something that feels good for you. Even if you only hold that in for yourself, like that nickname, you really want to look at that as to where you're headed, who you already are. You want to consider how you're developing that. You don't have to feel like that person yet. I should have just stayed to my script. You don't have to feel like that person yet. You do not have to. You are naming where you are headed. Okay? Really helpful, really important. It's also fun. Suddenly, I'm nothing without my kids has to compete with. I'm the person who finished that program. I'm the person who kept my word for 90 days. And I'm the person other people are now coming to for support or inspiration. Okay? That is how you become someone you recognize again. Not by wanting to feel or waiting to feel different, but by acting as if you matter and then letting your nervous system pitch out. So I want to leave you guys with this. You have not stopped being a parent. I don't care how long it's been since you've spoken with your kids. You've not. You are a parent experiencing a season. Notice, too, that I did not include an adjective before the word season there, because I want to leave that open for you to determine for yourself for interpretation. I do know, though, that it feels like your love, your parental love, has been sort of forced into the margins for your kiddos. But you are also more than a parent. You are so much more than a parent. And that's why I think it's really helpful to start exploring that cue if you feel like you've been marginalized. You are a human being with a nervous system, a story, a set of gifts, and whether you believe it now or not, a big, bright, beautiful future. You don't have to know exactly who you are to start moving. You just have to be willing to stop letting alienation decide that you are nobody. If you want, of course, as I've been saying throughout this, if you want support walking all this out, like getting all this out, figuring this out, grab the link for the worksheet below in the show notes or in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Commit the 20 minutes or whatever it might take for you to fill this in and hang it up somewhere so that you are basically the way that I have the goal section done towards the bottom is you're setting it up like a SMART goal. And so you have to fill in a start date and an end date, and you want to commit to yourself in finding out other facets of you, right? Really leaning into the other parts of you so that you start feeling necessary, wanted, needed, important, like an authority in other areas of your life beyond being a parent. Also, if you found this helpful or any of the episodes helpful, as always, please, if I know that most of us don't always socialize together, alienated parents, but some of us do. And I know that you guys are in some of those groups. So if you find this or any of the other episodes helpful for you, please share it with another alienated or estranged parent who you think might need it. I would really appreciate it, and hopefully they do too, So I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you stayed till the end. As you know, you may be doing this alone, but you're not alone in this whole walk. I'll talk to you again next week.